Hi friendos, my name is Stuart, and today we're looking at the most marketable waifu from the Rise of S.H.I.E.L.D. hero, and that is Raphtalia, the Tanuki demi-human from Roronozo Village, from a world that the wiki refers to as Raphtalia's world. Yes, really, here's a screenshot. If you missed my Naofumi video, the Rise of S.H.I.E.L.D. hero anime is about a man from Japan who was pulled into this world as the S.H.I.E.L.D. hero in order to protect it from the annihilation of the waves of catastrophe. At the beginning of the story, Naofumi was betrayed by his first party member and was branded as a woman assaulter and a criminal. Naofumi, being the S.H.I.E.L.D. hero, is incapable of dealing damage, or at least a lot of damage, so instead must rely on others to do it for him and is encouraged to buy a slave. This is when we meet Raphtalia, who is a child at the time. She is purchased by Naofumi, but as she levels up, they begin to grow closer as a party, but we'll get into that into the dings in the post-analysis. One thing that is interesting about demi-humans in the series is that as they level up, they become more powerful, of course, but they also age and become adults. This is a interesting writing decision at the very least, and honestly doesn't affect much outside of some personal trauma that Naofumi is dealing with. Don't take my apprehension of her, let's call it an aging quirk, as a judgment. Just know that I'm kind of baffled by it, if I'm being honest. But again, we'll talk about this more in the post-analysis. However, since Raphtalia is a literal child at the beginning of the series, and she's a captured slave, we're gonna begin her at true neutral. But with all that out of the way, let's go.
The couple that enters this hot spring together will be united eternally? That means that if I can get Master Naofumi to bathe together with me in this hot spring... No! Master Naofumi, we can't kiss! I'll end up being pregnant!
What would make you think I'd want to own slaves?
Oh, I don't know. The fact that they could neither lie nor betray their master.
Introduced at the end of episode 1, Raphtalia is bought and equipped by Naofumi to fight monsters with him. She doesn't have a lot of agency since she's bound by magic to do whatever he commands, but there are a couple of times in episode 2 where she refuses to do what he says and the command seal electrocutes her. True neutral.
I am Master Naofumi's sword. Respect him or die.
Damn demi-human. How dare you point your blade at the Royal Knight?
In episode 3, all the heroes are summoned to the town of Lute where the next wave of catastrophe hits. Naofumi and Raphtalia work on evacuating the townfolk while the king's soldiers sit back and do nothing. Lawful good for Raphtalia.
Raphtalia, forget it.
But I...
Just let it go.
Raphtalia is then angered by the soldiers not caring if the people live or die, in addition to them mocking the S.H.I.E.L.D. hero. So she attacks them, not necessarily to hurt them, but to make a point. At first, I was gonna give her like a chaotic evil or something for threatening the Knights, but instead, I'm gonna actually give her a chaotic good for defending Naofumi's honor.
Don't! Sir Moroyasu sets you free. I never asked anyone to free me. I was with Naofumi by choice.
But wait a second. I thought he was abusing you and that he was treating you badly.
You obviously know nothing about Master Naofumi.
In episode 4, the Spear hero challenges Naofumi to a duel for Raphtalia's freedom, which they force Naofumi to participate in.
Nobody should ever be forced into a fight.
Also blatant hypocrisy. Raphtalia tries to speak out against this, but everyone just assumes that she has Stockholm Syndrome, and they tie her up and force her to watch the Spear hero win due to cheating. Afterwards, they finally listen to Raphtalia, and she calls them out on their hypocrisy and defends Naofumi's honor. To prove her dedication to him, she rebrands herself as his slave. This undying loyalty earns her a lawful good, which is a really funny soundbite that I'm sure won't cause any stirs in my comment section when this is inevitably turned into a YouTube or TikTok short.
To help the rebuilding efforts, we've decided to levy a toll. This toll will be 50 silvers to enter the village and 50 to exit.
In episode 5, Team S.H.I.E.L.D. returns to the town of Lute where Spear and Mine are dropping heavy taxes. Evil as fuck. When Naofumi tells the Spear hero how much he's screwing over the town by doing his, Mine challenges him to a race, which Naofumi wins. Raphtalia doesn't do much this episode aside from cheering on Naofumi during the race, but in episode 6, Naofumi, Raphtalia, and the new party member Philo, a magical transforming chocobo, become traveling traders. When they're jumped by some highway robbers, Raphtalia and Philo make quick work of them. Neutral good.
Here you are. Thanks, that's very kind of you.
It's kind of difficult to get a read on the S.H.I.E.L.D. hero.
In episode 7, the gang delivers a batch of herbicide to a village overrun with Audreys. Naofumi wants to get paid for the shipment and bounce, but after a lot of begging from the villagers and Raphtalia both, he agrees to stay and help out. Lawful good.
If I take a rare delicacy to Master, I know he'll like me more and more. I'm sure he'll pet me and brush my hair and become my mate forever.
become your mate?
A couple of days later, Raphtalia learns about a magic gemstone that can make people fall in love. So she goes looking for one in the mountains to use on Naofumi. This is technically neutral evil, even if her intentions are relatively harmless, like hairbrushing. However, she is basically trying to sneak Naofumi an emotional roofie and not being honest with him. Even though they didn't end up getting what she wanted, they do capture a silver razorback boar. Some townsfolk offer to buy it off of them, and the two girls use the money to buy Naofumi a really nice hammer. Neutral good.
Master Naofumi, don't forget I'm the one who begged you to let me fight.
I know, but still.
We're almost finished anyway.
In episode 8, the group go to a village with a plague. They defeat the zombie dragon that caused it and cure the villagers. During the fight against the dragon, Raphtalia is burned by Naofumi's recently unlocked rage shield, applying a curse. Naofumi cuts their traveling business trip short and returns to the capital to cure her. While on the way, they find a lost princess who also needs to go to the capital. She temporarily joins the party. In the middle of the night, Raphtalia and Naofumi learn that the princess is missing and immediately assume that Philo ate her. Aside from accusing Philo of a crime with virtually no evidence, both Raphtalia and Naofumi agree to pretend that they saw nothing because they didn't want no legal troubles. Technically lawful evil for reasons that I explained in the Naofumi video. Fortunately, the princess wasn't eaten, and they get to the capital and Raphtalia gets cured. Lawful good for helping the village with a zombie plague problem.
Is this everyone from your village?
Yes. Everybody else was killed.
In episode 10, during the heroes' final preparations for the next catastrophe wave, they come across a refugee settlement. Raphtalia and Naofumi stay and give them food without asking for anything in return. Lawful good.
You can always count on me to be your sword. I will follow you through fire and brimstone. Believe it!
The second catastrophe wave begins. After the village is evacuated, Raphtalia joins the rest of the heroes on a ghost ship to fight the Dimensional Soul Eater. She doesn't do a lot of damage to it, so she mostly gives Naofumi moral support when he goes into Rage Shield mode. Lawful good for protecting the villagers, I guess.
When I give you the sign, use your light magic to blind her.
After defeating the Soul Eater, a woman named Glass hops aboard the pirate ship and attacks everyone, hoping to kill the shield hero. Raphtalia distracts Glass so they can help get away safely. With the time limit of the catastrophe wave almost up, Glass leaves and the heroes emerge confused but victorious. Lawful good for helping with the wave.
Full retreat!
After the wave is gone, Naofumi is summoned to the castle where he is very passive-aggressive towards the king, who threatens him. After leaving, Princess Mel chases after them and demands that Naofumi return to the castle and apologize to the king. He won't be able to do so because this was actually a setup. Raphtalia protects the princess and fights off the soldiers. Illusion magic is used across the country to frame the shield hero for kidnapping the princess. Lawful good for protecting her.
Master Naofumi, can I leave Mel with you for a bit? I'll be right back.
Sure. Step back a little.
Ambushed in the middle of the night by the three heroes' church, along with mine and the three heroes, Naofumi and the gang come up with a clever getaway plan to protect themselves, and Mel. After escaping, an espionage squad member of the Queen pays them a visit, asking Shield Hero and company to visit her in order to sort out the mess. Without much choice, given the entire countryside is after their heads, they agree. Neutral good for protecting Mel from mine.
What's going on?
A nobleman from the next town over marched right in here and accused us of hiding you.
On their journey to the Queen, a friend of Mel gives our heroes food and a safe place to stay the night. Unfortunately, this guy, a nobleman from a neighboring town whose name I am not going to bother to try to remember or pronounce, pays him a visit with some knights and arrests him for housing criminals. While Naofumi and Raphtalia are hiding, Mel gives herself up and convinces the guy that Shield Hero is already gone. Later that night, Raphtalia and the gang head to the dude's mansion to rescue Mel. Raphtalia comes face to face with this guy, a man that abused her as a child, and for some reason she believes that by killing him, she will become just as bad as him, which is not at all how that works. Anyway, Raphtalia accidentally knocks this guy out of the window and he falls to his death. Or so she thinks. Since this guy was going to kill them all and he has a history of torturing people for fun, in addition to being a self-aware racist, I want to give this a neutral good. Raphtalia then releases all the imprisoned demi-humans that he has locked up in his basement. Another neutral good. With this guy's last breath, he summons a T-Rex with a funny hat to kill the Shield Hero. Team Shield lure him out of town, but are unable to kill it. The current Filolial Queen then comes out of nowhere to join the fight and one-shots the T-Rex. The Queen brings them all to the Filolial Sanctuary and talks to Naofumi, where she threatens to kill all four heroes to start a new cycle if they refuse to work together. More on that in the next ding, but for now, lawful good for saving the town from a dinosaur.
Why are you so obsessed with making us work together anyway?
Because I had made a promise of my own a long time ago to the hero who raised me.
In episodes 17 and 18, Raphtalia is on the sidelines, not interacting with the plot so much. Philo gets an upgrade to the Queen Philolial, and they get dropped off to talk to the Spear Hero, who they end up having a fight with because he won't listen to reason. Then the church shows up and decides to kill both the Shield and the Spear Hero. Lawful good for fighting alongside and protecting Naofumi from the Spear Hero.
The countries, no, the entire world's survival is at stake. I will not sit here and wait for news when I still have the strength within me to fight.
At the beginning of episode 20, Bow and Sword join up with them in the middle of the fight, and then the rest of the episode is just Naofumi airing out his grievances to the other heroes. So Raphtalia doesn't really get a big part to play, but in episode 20, they all join forces to bring down the corrupt Pope, so lawful good, I guess.
Thank goodness. This means that everyone in Melromark will finally know the truth.
After everyone recovers their wounds and witness a very unpleasant trial, Naofumi decides to doubly dedicate himself to protecting the people and the world. Raphtalia also didn't do much this episode besides witness the events that transpired around her, but she is publicly honored for her bravery for the past couple months, so we'll also reward her with a lawful good.
Sorry about that. I wish I could have given you the class upgrades you wanted.
No, it's okay.
It's not. I won't always be around to help you. I want to make sure you'll be okay when I'm gone.
With newfound permission to visit the Dragon Hourglass and upgrade classes, they all find out that they only have one option. Raphtalia isn't too worried about it until it becomes a reminder that someday Naofumi will be gone forever, and Raphtalia doesn't get a chance to get that happy ending with him. This is only funny or sad because she hasn't even confessed her feelings yet. Later, they're invited to a celebratory party for the heroes, but a drunken racist starts harassing Raphtalia, and she Raphtaliates. This is an unfortunate side effect of causing everybody at the party to start an all-out fight for no reason. Kinda, sorta, not really her fault, but let's just give it a chaotic neutral.
We can handle whatever we come up against. But what really worries me... Master Naofumi.
After paying a visit to her family's grave, Raphtalia journeys with Naofumi and the other heroes to Calmera for a quick level grinding fest. Since the journey to the island was exclusively to get stronger before the next wave, I'm actually gonna give this a lawful good for fulfilling her heroic duties. The third wave begins and everyone is teleported to the sea. They win with the help of a new adventurer named Lark, who turns on them the moment the battle is over. Lark reveals that he and his partner Therese are from another world, just like the other four heroes. But their mission is to bring down the four heroes instead of stopping the catastrophe. More on them in the next ding, but for now, helping to stop this wave is lawful good. Team S.H.I.E.L.D. is holding their own against Lark and Therese up until Glass joins the fight, the crazy girl who nearly killed them in the second wave. They're about to win when their opponents reach their time limit and have to leave, ending on a cliffhanger. Lawful good. So, I've made it very clear in all my videos that I really don't care what rocks your socks. I don't care if you're into lollies, non-con, or whatever the hell the internet has to offer. Your kinks and your interests are your own business. Cartoons and fiction are the place where you're allowed to be a degenerate. Go for it. I really don't care. Fucking quote me on this. But I'm really confused as to why they decided to treat demi-humans level up as their aging method. Like, I'm really confused by this because Raphtalia has a great design. She's a fun character to watch and her crush on Naofumi is fairly endearing. She's pretty inoffensive. Well, as inoffensive as a slave who falls in love with her master can be, I guess. But again, it's a cartoon. I don't care. Fiction's fiction. Go have fun. But like, you didn't have to make her a kid and then turn her into an adult before you gave her a rockin' bod and having her want to jump the protagonist's bones. If I had to justify it, maybe the author couldn't figure out why she wouldn't have been bought by somebody, but like, she was. But you could just write it off as they wouldn't touch her due to magic racism, and no one, I don't know, like, play up the racism, call her a trash panda, something. You could even play off that Naofumi didn't notice that she was a rockin' hot adult because he was consumed with rage and he only thought of revenge or something. Again, I don't care what you're into. I'm just really distracted by the idea that demi-humans grow up by leveling up, because that means she went through years of personality and mental development within a matter of weeks. So every time I see Raphtalia being cute and having a crush or something, I keep thinking, what is she, like 6? And I really ain't into that. I personally think a story about a slave falling in love with her master can be very interesting. It really sets an interesting tone for your series and says a lot about how dour your world is when the most positive relationship is a socially rejected man and an oppressed woman. That's interesting. It's messed up, but it's interesting. However, I am much less interested in how a 6-year-old quickly becomes an 18-year-old in the span of a fortnight. And I just get confused when I don't see Philo doing the same thing. This feels like a bit of an Asuna problem where you have a really good best girl character that's being held back by a really odd plot. Otherwise, Raphtalia is a typical poverty girl with a heart of gold and a supportive waifu. And aesthetically, yeah, I really like her. I like her ears especially. But that's about it. Thank you to the patrons, and I'll see you all next week to talk about women's clothes, I guess. This is a weird outro.